Hello there, welcome to lesson number 10 in our series on using FluidDesigner for 3D printing to create light shades and desk lamp covers. Today's lesson we're going to show you how you can create a lampshade to fit against a wall. So if we start FluidDesigner up, first of all we need to go to Learning Projects, Lighting Projects, and we're doing lesson number 10, so we need to drag and drop number 10 wall light shade onto the desktop. I'll just switch on the screencast key so key presses are displayed here, and this is what we're going to create in today's lesson. So it's a light shade that would fit against a wall. Now there aren't any brackets as such attached to this. That would be an additional thing to do. We're not going to cover it in this lesson, however. Okay, so how are we going to create this? Well, first of all we're going to go to Add Mesh, and we're going to use a UV sphere. And as you can see, the object is really quite small, so zoom to selected. It's actually 2mm by 2mm by 2mm, and so we need to scale this up. I'm just zooming back now by rolling the mouse. So we want to scale that up, so if we press S on the keyboard for scale, we could drag it out. Okay, that's one way of doing it, but I'm just going to enter in the value 100, and as we can see in the top here, the scale factor for X is 100, for Y is 100, and Z is 100, and all those twos have changed into 200 now. So we just press enter to apply that scale, and whenever you're scaling FluidDesigner you must always do Control A and apply the scale to reset it back to scale factor of 1. Okay, so what do we want to do next? Well, we could, I suppose we could take the top part of the lampshade. We could remove that. We could delete the top part of it, as we can see in the finished one. So if we go to View and view this object from the front, now we're in perspective mode at the moment, so it's a good idea to switch from perspective to ortho. And if we just zoom in there, so I want to delete not quite half of it, I don't think. Yeah, we just want to delete this top bit of it. So with the object highlighted, we need to press the Tab key on the keyboard to go into edit mode, and A on the keyboard to deselect all. And what we could do now is to select border select or box select, whichever way you want to think of it. So we could press B on the keyboard, and that gives us these crosshairs. So what we need to do is highlight that bit of the object, and all of these vertices will be deleted because we're in vertex select mode at the moment. So these faces, this row of faces, will also be deleted if we're in vertex select mode. If we were in face select mode, just this bit at the top would be deleted, but all the way down to here will be deleted. So X on the keyboard and delete the vertices. Now, because there's a back part to this object, we need to repeat that. So we go to Select, Border Select again, highlight the same sort of area, X to delete, and delete the vertices. Okay, so there's the top part of the object deleted. And if we now look at this object from the right hand side, so if we go to View and look at it from the right, we can see that we want to delete this half of the object so that it can fit against the wall. So we can do the same again, border select, and highlight that lot, and then X to delete the vertices, and border select, highlight, and X to delete the vertices. Now, as you can see, there's a little bit down here that I need to go in and do again, so I'm just pointing at this part of the mesh and zooming in. So border select, X to delete the vertices, border select, and X to delete the vertices, and that should have done it now. So we've taken out that bit of the mesh. We now need to create this hole in the bottom. Okay, so if we go to View we can select view and top view, and it's number pad 7 to view it from the top. Is that going to help us? Well, yeah, I suppose we can delete it from the top. So if we go view and view from the top, if we zoom in, when you're dealing with circular shapes like this and you want to delete something, it's a good idea to use circle select mode. And with circle select mode you get a cursor like this, and if you scroll the center mouse button you can make the circle bigger or smaller, and depending upon how much you want to select you need to change the size of your circle. So I'm going to select all of that lot there, and before you can actually delete this you need to press the escape key to come out of this. And notice that just here is a rogue vertices that's been left over from the last bit of the delete. That can happen sometimes. To delete this bit now, to delete these vertices, which will take out all of these faces, we press X on the keyboard and delete the vertices. And that's perfect now. That's matches up with the one at the bottom. Okay, so it's border select, or box select I tend to call it, and circle select, depending upon what it is you're trying to delete. So we can come out of edit mode now, and the next thing that we need to do is to solidify this. So we do that in the properties window by selecting the modifiers icon, adding a modifier. We can add a solidify modifier, and we can go 1, 2, 3, let's say 4 millimeters thick, and we'll put the offset on the outside, and we'll tick for an even thickness as well. Okay, so 4 millimeters thick, and we need to apply that modifier, so we go to Tools, Object Tools, and convert it to a mesh. Now if we delete our original object down here, we can do that by pressing X on the keyboard, and there's our finished lampshade for fitting against the wall. So what we can do is we can save this now, so we can go to File, we can go to Save As, just go up through the menu system, go to My Projects, Lighting Projects, and save number 10 wall light shade as a Blender file. And we can then go to File and Export, and we can export it as a wavefront object format, which is a printable file format. Save it to the desktop, so it's lesson number 10 wall light shade .obj. And if we go to Netfab Basic, we can analyze this mesh. So if we go to Project and Open, go to the desktop, we can open lesson number 10, the wall light shade. And as I was expecting, there shouldn't really be any issues with this. It's quite a simple object. We've not done anything clever with it, but just run Netfab anyway. Extras and repair the part. The mesh gets triangulated, and as you can see there are no border edge or problems, orientation or holes, but run the repair and apply the repair and remove the old part. Okay, so there's your wall light fitting now. You obviously need some sort of brackets to attach it to the wall, but in terms of 3D printing we can save that now. So part, export it as wavefront object to the desktop, and so that repaired file is the file that you would send to the printer. Now if we just go back to FluidDesigner and have a look at the original object here, as is usual with the lessons that we've created, this surface finish of this object is not as smooth as perhaps you would want it in real life, and one of the reasons that we've done that is to save on file size. When you start making objects really smooth, really fine detail, you can easily, just one file can be 50 megabytes in file size. But I'm just going to show you how we can change this now and make it more rounded and smooth. At the moment, if we look at the top of the screen, there are only 304 faces in this entire object. So if we press the tab key, Yeah, this object's only made up of a total of 304 faces. So if we want to improve the quality of this, we need to break up this mesh into smaller and smaller bits. So if I just come out of edit mode with the tab key, if I go to modifiers, if I go to the subsurf modifier, this is a modifier that can be used to smooth off surfaces. You'll see immediately the number of faces have gone up to 1216, and if I press the tab key on the keyboard to go into edit mode, the modifier is not applied here, so we can't actually see it. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I am going to apply the modifier. So go to Tools, Object Tools, and convert it to a mesh. And if we go to edit mode now with the tab key, you can see we've broken up that mesh and it's in much smaller bits now. There's more faces than there were previously. And the more we apply this subsurf modifier, the more faces we will get. Let me just cancel that again. So there was 1216 faces. If we apply subsurf, that goes up to 9728. If we just apply that modifier, Tools, Object Tools, and convert it to a mesh, and then press the tab key to go into edit mode, you can see now that the faces are getting smaller and smaller. And yeah, let's try applying the subsurf again. Now you can change the view value and increase the number of faces dramatically. Now I've just changed the view value to 3, and the number of faces is now 311,000. If I go back to a view value of 2, it goes back to 77,000. So each face is being broken up into 4 bits when you actually change this view value. So 300,000 faces is quite a large number, but if we apply the modifier, go to Tools, Object Tools, and convert it to a mesh, and if we press the tab key, you can't see the faces now. There are so many faces on this object. They're so tiny you can't see them. I've come out of edit mode, and if we zoom in, yeah, it gives the appearance of being extremely smooth, this object. So the subsurf modifier breaks the mesh up and increases the smoothness of the surface. The downside to it is that it does escalate the file size quite dramatically, and once you start getting up to 600 and 800,000 faces in an object, you're typically having an object that's a file size that's 50 or 60 megabytes. Okay, so that's the end of this lesson. Thank you.